This is great. I have been here 50 years, and Providence has been here 100 years. I have some staff memories. I have some student memories. I remember in the early 1970s, we started a fastball team, and we joined the Hanover Fastball Association, and we won the B Division championship in the first year, so we figured that was good enough, and we quit. We had guys like legends like Dan Block, Steve Masterson, Bruce Peters, and Dennis Hebert, and so on. So we had a great time. We also was involved in intramurals a lot. And we almost always beat the students, and it was age and treachery over youth and skill is what we figured that was our motto kind of thing, and they never could quite understand it. Another great event was we started a hockey team called the Non-Varsity Blues, because none of us could make the varsity team. And our crowning achievement every year was that we had a banquet at Bonanza. And for those of you that know what Bonanza is, it's an all-you-can-eat buffet, but we would dress up in tuxes and suits and everything else. We would bring in a guest speaker, one of the faculty, and we would just have a great time.
I lived in Jansen Wing of Bergen Hall, and got to know the guys there super well. We ate together, went to classes together, played foosball together, played floor hockey together, lots of chats late into the night, and some of them were even meaningful. So, yeah, so that was really impactful for me. And so, because those friendships, the things we talked about, they were certainly a learning experience for me. But a big part of that too is people that I meet later on. We always talk about the pranks that were done. Of course, those are always memorable. And so, we tried to be creative, and like, for example, there was a student who had his own room, and the rest of us thought it'd be a great idea to take everything out of his room, and everything, posters, everything, it was bare. And to take it all, and there was an empty room on the other side, and move it all there and replicate it exactly. So this took a couple of hours, as you can imagine, a bunch of guys, a couple hours, and we were, we were on point with as far as making sure it was all replicated. And he goes to his room bare, and he's like,
"Keep one of those."
"Where is my desk?"
And we're all like, "What are you talking about?" He says, "There's nothing in my room." And we said to him, "That's not your room. What are you talking about? That's your room." And so it was this blow the mind kind of moment for him where he thought he was going crazy. Yeah.
It was always a fun place to work. I remember when I was hired by Steve Skrupnik, and he was a great boss. He was the accountant, but he wasn't your typical accountant, and he was pretty fun. I remember a few stories, and he liked to scare me. He would bang on the door and make me jump when I'm working hard. I think she was the president, student body president one time, went and got the whole student council people and other people to go into Gary's office when he wasn't there because the door wasn't locked, and he was the VP. And they just filled it with balloons. He couldn't even walk in. The whole thing was just covered in balloons. Maybe you've heard the story that in the lecture theater, they came in one day and all the tables were turned around.
And all the seats had been unscrewed out of the floor, turned the opposite way so they faced the wall. And needless to say, we found out who the students were, and they spent the next day screwing those seats back in. Pretty well took them the rest of the day.
Exams used to be held in the gym, and they would set out long tables, and that was where all the exams were. Well, one morning, we came in, staff and faculty come in, all the tables, or most of the tables, half the tables, were strung up on the rafters, and they were hanging from the rafters.
We were really fortunate. At Bergen Hall, we had bathrooms in each room. So, and in that bathroom, there were shower stalls. It was kind of like this small phone booth, right? Like this narrow cube you kind of have to squish in. What we would do on occasion is we would block the shower drain in this shower stall. We would close the door from the outside, and we would seal the door. And then we would stand on something, reach over, turn on the water. And so this whole rectangle phone booth would fill up with water all the way to the top. And so someone came in, there was their shower full of water, and what do you do with that? That is the question.
One of the events that was happening, that happens every year, is something called the Film Festival. And so my students took the opportunity to make a film. What they did was they decided to focus on me. Now, the interesting thing is I would joke with my students that I had this life of DJing and being a rapper and all of this stuff. I would call myself DJ Nicky G. And it was just a joke because if you know me at all, you know that I am not a hip-hop artist. I grew up in the suburbs of Ottawa. It's not at all sort of a rough area, nor did I have that real urban feel to my life. In any case, they created this whole documentary about my rise from the streets of Ottawa and then becoming this worldwide DJ. And anyway, they produced this thing that had, class content that was put into it. They talked about French literary theory and Roland Barthes and all of this stuff, which was really quite interesting. They decided to have a showing of this video outside of the film fest. And people brought ginger beer and pretzels as snacks because that was the joke that I had in our parties. I would say we're going to have a party at the end of class with ginger beer and pretzels. Ginger beer and pretzels! Woo! They brought all this stuff and they brought all their friends, and there were like 60 people at this event. And it was this wonderful thing. I mean, it's a funny story, but I think what it actually shows, it showed that I had made an impression on them. And the students who were in that class who made that video continue to talk about it.
I also had the privilege of taking student teams, whether they be sports teams or whatever they are, on missions trips. But it gave me a side of the students that I didn't just see here on campus, how they were salt and light. And that was really neat to see.
Just seeing them grow and develop coming in their first year, and just how much growth there was over the few years, like coming in just as terrified first year student, and then they're graduating and they're like, they've changed so much, they've been in leadership, they've learned a lot, and it's just, that's kind of what it's not kind of, it is what we're doing. And so just seeing that over and over again is very rewarding.
In the role of alumni coordinator now, I hear incredible stories. We got a letter from an alumni who made the comment that maybe they didn't appreciate it as much as weren't aware of the appreciation of what life was giving them while they were here. And now, as she looks back, the impact that it had and how much it has shaped who they are